Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and for the month of October I'm going to be doing Vlogoween, where I'm going to be doing a video a day. Some of these may be shorter, some of these may be longer depending on the day I'm recording them. Also, they're going to go up inconsistently at different times of the day, and I apologize for that. Doing a video every single day for a month is a challenge. Trying to get them uploaded at the exact same time every day is just next to impossible for me, and I apologize for that, especially if you're looking for videos at very specific times. I'm just doing my best with what I have. But for day one, I thought we would do a really fun bird that I absolutely adore, and it's called the hooded Pituhoi. And this bird is from New Guinea. It's like a medium-sized songbird. I'm going to be picking out colored pencils while I go to do this and figure out which ones that I kind of need and want and desire. This bird is special because it is one of the poisonous birds. It's a brachytoxin, something like that. And that's the type of toxin that's used, poison dart frogs, like the golden poison dart frog in Colombia has that. Same type of toxin, and it's kind of a neurotoxin that's alkaline based, and you know, if you're into some of that stuff that interests you, I will link a bunch of pages about this bird. Also, if you're not interested in doing this bird but you want to draw birds every day and create with me and hang out with me, I will list a bunch of references in the description box where you can find lists of tons of birds. If you're going from like a very specific prompt list and you're just not feeling that bird that day, that may be of some help. I don't see any. I'm looking at this reference photo. The problem with this reference photo is I don't know if it's royalty free, so I've kind of flipped it. I couldn't find any royalty free photos, so I hope this one is. It was posted on Reddit by someone called Swagalicious. So thank you, Swagalicious, for posting this bird. I appreciate you. I will do better in the future with my photos and references and stuff. And through this month, we're going to be working on overall birds, overall layout, specific parts of birds within deeper videos, like doing eyes and highlights and doing feet and doing shape and understanding anatomy. And then some parts of some videos we'll just be drawing, you know, either a portrait or a layout of the bird or whatever I can get done in that time slot available. Again, some days they may only be 10-minute videos, so if you are more interested in maybe learning how to draw a feather and doing a feather from each bird, or doing some deep research and figuring out what the egg looks like of each bird, or doing nest research or location. Maybe you're not so much interested in birds, but the location where they live and something like that, and then maybe having, you know, a tiny silhouette or something. Let me know if you want a list of birds that I will be drawing from for this month. I don't know which bird I'm going to be doing every day. I let my mood decide, basically, so I'm never bored. And maybe that's something that you follow too. Maybe not. But I thought it would be fun to draw this bird. It's very October, very sort of Halloween colors. Plus, the whole poison factor just boggles my mind if you're interested in stuff like that. Huge amounts of the poison from this bird can cause paralysis and death. They discovered that this bird was poisonous in 1989. I found a talk on YouTube this gentleman does where he's handling the birds and the bird scratches them and he sticks his finger in his mouth and then his mouth goes numb. And he talks a little bit about that. It's fascinating. So I will link those and other factoids. I am not an ornithologist. I am not a bird specialist. I am just an artist, and birds are always fun to draw. They just are. There's so many different components that you can work on and break down. And if you want to get better at drawing from reference photos because commissions are something you want to work on in the future, this will also help. So for some of these, we will have a reference photo. For some of these, we may not. We may look at generalized photos and then figure out, based on what we know about anatomy, what that bird should look like, okay? And again, if you want to do other elements, make notes as to why Kendra chose this bird and why it's unique and where it's from. And this bird eats. I'm gonna work on the head here while I chat a little bit. I'm doing black really lightly so I can get the head shape. It's a very fun sort of wild hair that this photo reference has. They eat fruit and they eat insects and spiders and whatever they can find. I just think this bird, and plus it has a really cool like hook to its beak. Like that's always something really fascinating. Here's the top part. I am just doing kind of ovoid shapes here and arching it around. I am guesstimating. If you want, I will link this photo. Again, I have flipped the directionality of it for interest, and I am just capping off here. I hope you can see this, where the black portion of the feathers end. And then, I really like this color. Which one is this? I'm using the Faber-Castell Polychromos. This is the Pompanian Red. Yeah, 191. I am going to just, there's a little tiny bit of red here as it comes down. Depending on the time constraints you have, this illustration could take you 10 minutes. This illustration could take you 3 hours. I am working in an A5. I am just trying to get the generalized shapes of the feathers here as I work. And that's kind of how I start my drawing process, is figuring out the shapes and how much I want. This is brighter orange over here. How much of the bird I want to draw, where I want it on my page. And I'm going to leave my bottom a little bit empty. I want to put some notes with some of these because this is sort of a drawing challenge. And I want to make sure that we all know what I'm doing here with this challenge. So I'll put the bird name and maybe I'll do the scientific name to make it look fancy. Let's figure out where this beak, here's like the little nostril hole here, little breathing bits, and the beak kind of comes, boy, he's just looking so poignantly. It's not the crystal clearest photo I've ever found, but I just really like the expression, and I'm trying to match up where the eye location is based on everything else on this bird. And it does have a really big eye. And I love that. I love that. And it has a little ring. It has a little ring around its eye. Maybe we'll just start with the eye. Here, let me zoom in. All right, we're zoomed in a little bit better here. And what I see when I look at the reference photo is how dark the outer ring, the outer circle of this line is. It's very dark value. And then inside is very dark. The actual eye of the bird. It does look like there's another color in here. It's not totally black, so keep that in mind. There is a rather large pupil, and I am just trying to draw what I see here. If you don't like drawing from reference photos, type in hooded Pituhoi in your favorite search engine and pull up the variety of photos. Figure out which position you like. Maybe you don't want it to look portrait and you want it to look in flight, or you just want to focus on maybe the head. Maybe you want to zoom in and just have that be the most important thing going on. I see, you know what I see? I'm going to tell you what I see. I see this color, raw umber, but it's very, very dark, but I see that in the eye. And there's a little bit of eye shine here. And I'm going to gray over some of this. I don't want the raw umber to be so distinct I want it to kind of blend in. So you get the look of the eye. All right. Does that look eyeballish to you? And then there's all these little cute little lines here. I'm sure this bird would argue with me about how cute it is, but I think this bird's adorable. And poisonous birds is such a fascinating thing. And some of these, I'm just going to go really lightly with my black and create a gray. Sometimes that's just easier than constantly picking up my gray. Some convenience colors are really convenient and some aren't the most convenient. Okay, I don't want this perfectly symmetrical. Nothing in nature is perfectly symmetrical. Let's work on the beak a little bit. And again, I'm going to be using black here, definitely for the bottom portion of beak bill here. And again, I don't know all the official names of all the parts of birds. I apologize for that, but that's not my thing. I mean, you probably know, you could teach me all the official names of bird parts. When we get into anatomy, we'll look at some of the anatomy books and break those down before we do an illustration or something, because some of them are fine. I have looked at a few bird anatomy books. I have looked at bat anatomy books for helping with some bird portions. Anatomy books that are hand-drawn in a very specific drawn style tend to distract me from the anatomy I'm trying to learn. So I'm very picky about anatomy books. And this, I feel, should be, gosh, so much darker. I'm just going to push down as hard as I can. I have a pencil board. I'm using the Stalogy 365. This is very thin paper, so having a pencil board definitely saves the next sheet. Lots of companies make pencil boards. I'm using a Traveler's one, but lots of planner companies like Hobonichi make one. Okay, I'm looking at the beak and I am seeing warm grays. It looks gray. The tip almost looks like it has a raw sienna, raw umber sort of tip. There is a light portion, there is a dark portion. I'm going to go in with gray. Excuse me. And this is my black, and I'm just going to use it very, very lightly to sort of figure out that value range and get that to match the reference photo. There's definitely some like highlight in here, so I'm not doing the whole area. If you hear any barking, that is our dog. She says hi. Okay, I want to work on this portion right here. It looks like an upside down triangle. And the top part is very dark. And it just looks kind of like a drop shadow. There is a little bit of lightness around it. If you have any kind of eraser or something, let's see. Okay, it looks like it's a little lighter around this shape. But it doesn't look perfectly gray to me. It looks like there's green in the beak. I don't know if you can see that in the reference photo. Like grays have tint and color to them too. I'm gonna add a little bit of color to the tip here. And I'm seeing like a weird green. So I'm gonna grab, what is she doing? Nobody knows. Green yellowish. And I just wanna add a little tiny bit. I don't know, it just doesn't scream regular gray to me. So just a tiny bit of, and that may not be something that is picked up in the camera, but it'll be something I know it's there and I know what it's for. So that'll help me when trying to color match and figure some of this stuff out. All right, now to denote the edge of this is going to be really, really dark black. Feathers. There's going to be no white between them, just like there's no white between them in the reference. It's just solid black here. So if you want to kind of carve out shapes using really dark black, and then as we come out, it's going to get lighter gray that we fill in. And again, this, like the feathers here are shaped just absolutely lovely in this reference photo. You see what I'm doing here? It starts really, really dark and it starts to get lighter. I don't know how long you want this video to be. There are other like Pituhois types of this bird, but the hooded one is the poison one. So, if you were ever in New Guinea and you see this bird, one, don't pick it up. You don't want it scratching your hand. Two, take a really cool reference photo that I can look at. For those of you that travel. And again, by this, there's a shape around the eye here that's all very, very dark. So I'm going to denote that. There are some big birds flying outside my window right now. I can see them. There's an ongoing battle. There's a war outside my window, and it's between the crows and this raptor, and the crows go after this raptor. And I wish I could capture it on camera, but I don't have the kind of camera that can do all that. So, but it's pretty wild. The crows are pretty vicious. And we will do a crow. We can do a crow versus raven, like a compare and contrast. So you can identify them in illustrations, you can identify them in real life, like knowing the difference between the two of those. Okay. You're starting to get a little bit more bird shaped in this illustration. And some of the dark, really, really dark. And again, I'm just applying full pressure to my pencil to get the blackest of the black from this one. If you are watercoloring and you want dark black, don't water it down, don't thin it out. You want really, really dark black for this. This is the shadowed area. If you are doing like gouache or acrylic, just directly from the tube, solid black. If you are doing pen and ink, figure out how you want your darkest value to look. Maybe your darkest value is pure cross-hatching, and for lighter values, it's hatching, and for values lighter than that, it's like stipple or something. Figure out how you want that to look. Again, I am just drawing sort of dark lines, and then I'm filling them in with half pressure on this pencil. So you can start to see blending in different value ranges to make these feathers look more realistic. They're not going to be solid black. They're not going to be solid gray. We know that the feathers are black, but in nature, in shadow and highlight and flashes of camera, things like that, where the sun is sitting, there's going to be a wider value range, and just sort of figuring out how you want that to look and how specific you want to color match it could be a huge help for learning to do commissions and very specific artworks where you draw from a reference. This can be a very handy skill set to have. If you are someone that wants to learn to draw without a reference photo, we can do that. Put that in the comment section, like how important that is to you. And we can pull up a bunch of reference photos of, you know, an oriole, or like I said, a crow or something, or an interesting looking finch. And we can create our own position of the bird based on looking at photos and seeing how that bird is shaped. Again, I am not familiar with all these birds. I want to take you to our local zoo at some point, if the apiary is open, and we can look at some of the unique birds in there together. There's one that's just my favorite. that's unreal in color. And I would love to show that to you. I need to call them and see if they'll open that up. There was like a bird flu thing going through our zoo, so I was trying to be careful. You know, be respectful and kind. All right. Oh yeah, I guess you can see that. We have good natural light right now, so I'm trying to optimize that with this bird. And again, it's not going to have a very smooth ending. Feathers are fluffy, they're rough, they come to points and tips, and you kind of want to denote that in your illustration. It adds to the realism. When you go to draw something like an emu with their wild eyelashes, or ostriches have it too. They have really specific eyelashes and like weird looking whiskers that point tons of different directions. You want to put that and include that in your illustration. It makes it so much more engaging, and that's what it looks like in real life. So that's infinitely more helpful. If you want to do a different style, if realism isn't your thing, study the shape. So we have like a hooded circle. We have sort of a triangular beak. It's a bit of a round eye here. I kind of want that just a little bit darker. Like, we know there's color there. That just a little bit darker. Blend all that in. Figure out cartoon eyes. Do your eyes have pupils? If you're doing cartoons, do they have eyelashes? Are you like anthropomorphizing all this and doing eyebrows? What style? Are you trying to figure out how to turn this into like a more cartoonish style? I would suggest doing a few little thumbnails and figuring out the key components of this bird that make it so unique. One would be the coloring, one may be the shape a little bit. And then you can add like a text bubble, like no touchy, you know, I'm poisonous, not for consumption. And then through there, figure out how to stylize that, just keeping the important bits that make this bird. So you can tell the difference between this and like a rhea or an ibis, because you've kept the shape up and you've kept some of the things very specific. Now I'm going to blend this in. I am pulling down and pulling out with my colored pencil. I'm not going to be using a colored pencil blender. I'm not going to be using any solvents or anything like that. This isn't that deep. I'm not trying to sell this. I'm not trying to, I don't know, put this in a museum. I'm not spending that kind of time on it. There is fur on this side. So, color matching, gosh, it is such a really beautiful color though, along this side. I'm trying to figure out, I may do a combination. So I'm probably gonna start with, what is this, Hilo something like, I don't know, I apologize. It is the deep orange red, and I'm gonna put that really, really close. There's like two colors in here. One is a little bit more red and one is a little bit more orange. This bird really comes down to almost a point here, doesn't it? In shape. It looks like it got a haircut, like along the bottom. Like it just seriously, like you could almost draw a line underneath and it'd almost be perfectly straight. Somebody clip some fur here. Okay. I just want to make sure that I am blending this deep red into the black a little bit. I don't want to see any white of the page in this fur very much. Now I'm going to pull out an orange. Let's do this guy. This one is, I don't know, dark cadmium orange. Fair enough. And having two different colors blended in gives your eye a little bit more to do. Again, we're adding to that realism factor. Like fur and hair and things like this aren't one color. They just aren't. So there's going to be a mixture of things. Blend that out a little bit. Okay, so he's looking kind of mad. He's looking kind of rad. We'll go back to that darker red here, especially along here. I'm bumping all my stuff. Okay. And you can kind of see the edge. It almost looks like a feather where part of it's going this way and part of it's kind of going this way. Like it's almost going opposing ways like a feather within this. And then towards the bottom, it's just one direction that goes down like a mohawk. Can you see that? I'm trying to figure out the best way to draw this. I have only watercolored this bird before. I did it as indigo as part of a Vlogoween challenge. So I have watercolored this bird. I have never hand drawn it like this. Pay no attention to the weird noises you hear in the background. I think my husband is cleaning the bathtub. Okay. And I want to add a little bit more vibrant orange to this. It's looking a little red, and I don't mind it so much, as I just need to get some of the color down. You need some background color. We're not going to muddy this too much, but I do feel like there is some brown in here, some siennas, some umbers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, who am I going to take with me? Should I take a light brown? All my light browns are like super short. Who's this guy? He's not dark enough. Okay, this brown. Who is he? This is my Van Dyke brown. This is one of my Convenience browns. And I'm going to come up and I want to add and denote a little bit of variance between the feathers here in dark color that blends with brown, with the orange. So brown blends really, really well with orange. And it looks really natural to have that color sort of cut in and help divide out some of these feather shapes. If that is something you are interested in doing, like how detailed you want to go. And then from there we have a little bit of shadow. Part of it looks black and then part of it looks brown. So looking at this shadow between the feathers, I'm trying to keep track of everything here. I want to add a little bit of brown because to me, in my eye, it fades to brown. I think that looks more realistic when it comes to birds. And again, bird shapes. Okay. Hopefully you're getting what I'm laying down here. The bird says hi. Hello. As he starts to appear on our page. And we appreciate you, bird, for showing up. So let us keep going on this second portion. It's almost like drawing fringe or tassels or bangs, hair. Any big fans of drawing hair out there? This is what this looks like, and our sun is starting to change a little bit, so I apologize if that's starting to look different on the camera. Again, the time I have is the time I have, and while I wish I had infinite amounts, it just doesn't always end up that way. So it's going to be a little slapdash when these go up, and I apologize for that. Like, I wish there was better consistency, but with 3 kids and homeschooling and world domination and all the things one tries to do in the day, I got to make sure this doesn't overwhelm my other stuff. Okay, I'm going back to brown here to denote this shadow here. And then I'm going to go lighter with the brown. May add a little bit of red in here too, just because I think it would look beautiful. A little bit of red. Reddish orange. Okay. It's looking a little messy. And this is one of those things where you go in and slow down and figure out the color values and where you want the different feathers to kind of show up with individual lines. And I'm just pulling up. You can pull down if you want that to look more natural coming through. There is a big black section that has a lot of gray. So it doesn't go all the way to the top. We know this. We need to make sure that when we are pulling in, we're covering up the white, unless that is a stylistic choice and part of something you want to show in your illustration. I would ask why, just because there's no white feathers here. We can do a white bird if you like later on and show the challenges of denoting a white bird on a white page and what it takes to show that without using white. What the highlights look like on that, what the shadows look like, how you color that so the viewer knows it's a white bird. They can see it. You could photograph it, you could upload it, they can see it on your page, but you didn't use white. That is its own challenge. My favorite is like polar bears. Polar bears are awesome to illustrate because it really makes you look at color when trying to draw one or paint one. Realistically, it's a lot of warm browns, warm grays to draw a white polar bear. And you can pull that up for reference and start looking at that, start identifying, pulling out color. You could put a reference photo onto Photopea, which is a free web page that acts a lot like Photoshop, and then do the color selector on certain areas to see what color that actually is, and that can be very helpful. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Again, my daylight, my light outside is getting a little wonky, but we're all just doing our best here. So for up here, I'm seeing little bits, and I'm coming in a little bits. Be careful as you're drawing. I didn't pay attention to drawing angle, so if don't wipe your hand, hold your hand through your illustration and then keep pulling it. You're gonna muddy up your page. So be real careful and cognizant of that. Some people have special gloves. I don't have that. You can lay down a piece of paper that you specifically pick up and lay down to make sure. This isn't quite as bad like as dry medium, like pastels or charcoals. You really pull those with your hand when you go to draw, depending on which angle you're drawing. And I am just trying to fill in. It looks like it comes here, and it looks like it goes here, and it looks like it comes up. I'm just following the shape, like the natural shapes that are on this bird. The feathers really start to go cattywampus in all directions. And again, that's one of the things in reference photos that lets you know, like, this is from nature, this isn't from the imagination, because the imagination tries to make things a bit more uniform, a little bit more tidy. It's not quite as invasive with the information. So this is full pressure, just because I know this is dark black here. And again, I'm not going all the way down. This video would be infinitely longer, and I don't really want to overwhelm you. So maybe some days we don't do a full bird, unless you want to go full in. We can go full in together. They're going to be nighttime uploads though, because of needing time to edit and stitch stuff. So my editing has gotten faster. I have been editing videos now for 10 months. which is awesome. It's not quite as hard as I thought it would be, but some videos have been very time consuming where I have to go minute by minute to make sure I'm adding the photos and putting things in that are important, and then I'm linking things that I'm mentioning that I'm going to link. So, and then I'm just going really much lighter for the lighter sections of the bird. If it's not a light enough value, we can pull a little bit. Black does lighten with an eraser. You do get a gray if you want to go even lighter. It looks like there's some like down feather situation showing a little bit in this region, which is fun. I like this bird. He's just like, what are you looking at? Why are you touching me? You know I'm poisonous. Why are you making poor choices? It looks like he's having a whole conversation with his eyes. That's why I chose this photo. Like, he has things to tell you. He's seen things in his life. You won't believe what he's done with his feathers. Like when he tells you he's poisonous, why didn't you listen? Why did you pick him up and take this photo? It's like, have you seen the last guy that picked me up? Oh, birds. Birds are fun. Okay. If you are starting a brand new sketchbook and you want to get into this, but maybe this is just like a bit much. Like, I know this can be a lot starting out. Starting with, type in bird silhouette and you will get some really great bird shapes from different types of birds in the search engine, and start adding little bits and pieces like that to your page. Like maybe you just want to follow along because you want to see me upload a video every day, but you're more interested in botanicals. Adding little bird silhouettes in the background is super fun. I have done that many a time. And this starts to get a little bit lighter here. So there are ways to sneak in bird elements. I'm going to go to here with the black line, I think. I see a little Y there. That could be me. I have zero idea what the eggs look like of this bird. I don't know if there are going to be reference photos for that, for every single one. But if you wanted to start out this challenge doing eggs from birds of your local area or national birds from the country you live in, eggs are a lot of fun. They're a unique shape that's pretty clear cut. They have fun little polka dots and speckles. Like, it's just a very entertaining thing to draw and paint if you want to paint. And if you want to work on feathers, you could do a black feather to represent this bird if you want to follow along, but you want to keep it simple, like you want to keep to 10 minutes, and maybe you only have 10 minutes, and that's fine too. Drawing a black feather, and you could practice in multiple mediums to take up those 10 minutes, where it's a line down the middle. Keep in mind, like, birds have a lot of different elements about them that make it so they can fly. So feathers have sort of, it looks like a stem that runs down the middle, and it's thicker on one end and thinner on the other. Trying to teach you how to draw something while teaching you how to draw something. And the direction the feathers go and what the feathers look like at the very bottom are different than what they look like at the very top. So if you want to start studying bird feathers from photos, not from other people's interpretation illustrations, but from legitimate photos, and then you interpret that in your style, in your medium, that would be the best way to do that. Or type in just bird eggs, or there's tons of different types of like chicken eggs and stuff that farmers have photographed. And some are, you know, more blue, more green, more brown, more yellow, more white. Again, white isn't white. It's kind of an ivory. It's an eggshell color. Ha ha, sorry. That's really bad. But there is a difference. Okay, now, okay, so we kind of have the body-ish. I may, when I turn my lamp on, this is what happens. I draw a thing and then for a video, and then I turn my lamp on and I'm like, oh, that is not blended. Because keep in mind, my camera lightens. So if I have my lamp on, it's just gonna, oh, okay. You get the picture. You're bearing with me and I appreciate you. We need to go back to orange. We do. And I'm doing the darkest orange red up around the neck. I want to fill in some of that white space. Then I'm going to start pulling just the regular cadmium orange. You could do hard lines and then fill it in lightly. And you get more of a range within that one color when you do it like that. Draw dark, color in, draw dark, color in. If you want to denote the different levels of some of these feathers, there are kind of different levels. And then it starts to get a little bit lighter as we come down. There's some darker orange bits over in here, a little over in here. I'm just trying to show the shape here. But this may be a lot. I don't want this to discourage you. If this is too much and you're like, girl, draw the whole bird on your own time. Just show me some anatomy and some feathers. I can do that. I can absolutely do that. Just let me know. Just communicate with me in the description box. That is what it is for. I'm going to take this one, if I can see. This one is dark chroma yellow. Oh, I think I have more, but we'll start with this one. We'll try and blend them together. I want to show that this is a lighter orange getting to the darker orange. And there is some like on the tips here. There is some coming out, not minding their own business. I'm here for that. I'm here for feathers being wonky. There is a bit of a foot here. I may not include that just because I want to do some specific stuff with feet, with legs, like cranes versus, you know, something smaller. We could do like toucans versus cranes versus other birds and show the differences in like feet and claws and talons, especially when you get to birds of prey. When you're talking about raptors and eagles and some of those in that category, their talons and their feet look way different because they're going after big stuff, big food items. I apologize if this topic is difficult to hear. Some birds eat other critters that you may be big fans of, like owls. When you think about owls and what their talons and their legs look like the power of being able to lift all that weight into the air. Again, I'm just trying to blend in some of the darker colors with the lighter ones to make it look more natural. And that is just controlling the amount of pressure I have pressing down onto the page. So it's easier to add more than to take away. So start with the lightest amount of pressure and then add a little bit more. But when we get into big birds, we can do a thing on non-flight birds. We could talk about like kiwis and penguins, and there's a ton of variety of those, you know, from the macaroni to the goldeneye. We can look at what their foot situation is. I think a lot of folks are familiar with like emperor penguins and them holding babies on their feet for months at a time, for a really long time. And they can't drop their baby in those cold temperatures. If you want me to link some documentaries about birds, I can look for some that I have previously enjoyed. Let's add a little tiny bit of This one again, this is the raw umber. So there's going to be about 3 colors in here. And I may add a 4th. It just depends on if I like where it's at, or if I think I need more specific, like, do I need more specific lines being shown in the feathers? Like, do I need things pulled out here? Do I need to show that some of this arcs this way and some of this is going this way? Like, they're bird feathers, so they're gonna go whatever direction the wind blows, and you know, a branch may grab a feather and twist it the wrong way. People picking them up may twist their feathers a little strange. Understanding that, and like, I almost put my head under the thing. Sorry, I was leaning over. I want to make sure there's enough orange here. I'm seeing a lot of white. Okay. So this is what I have for my hooded Pituhoi for day 1. This was a lot. I know this was a lot, and I'm probably still going to touch it up and tweak it just because I feel like this black has brown in it. I just feel like it's a warmer black. So again, you can drop this reference photo. I'll link it somehow, some way. I'll put it on my webpage or something. And with some references, I'll create something. I don't know. I'll figure something out. But being able to color match and understand what the color is in specific areas can be done by saving the photo, pulling up photo P, grabbing like it looks like a eyedropper, and the eyedropper identifies specific colors. That can help you. Looking at shape, like understanding ovals versus flat lines versus, like, it's a silly bird. It's a poisonous bird. So if you have a specific bird that you absolutely want included, you are a peacock fan, we will figure out how to do that. Their feathers under a microscope are absolutely amazing. If you ever get the chance, try and look that up, because they just sparkle, and there's like iridescent, it looks like confetti, iridescent flakes and stuff. Just put comments in the comment section below. I will get to them. I will process them. I will put them in a loop. If you want me to create a specific list so you know ahead of time what we're drawing, we can do that. If you'd rather just be surprised and hear me talk about weird birds that I find fascinating, and that's why we're suddenly drawing them, we can do that as well. I will get to specific things. We can do pages of eyeballs if you want. In addition, or a specific video, if you want different ways to show eye shine and eye highlights and look at a wide range of eyes between some of these birds. Some of these birds have really unique eyes. Some of them have red, some of them have light blue, lots of brown. We can get into that. We can do that. I don't mind. It's all drawing to me, and it's all a ton of fun. I want to thank you so much for being patient with me with this video for the first day. I know I'm setting a bad example already, but a video a day. All birds all the time. Thank you so much. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.